Great. Okay, so now we have done the compliance bit. Let's take a look at the first section that we're going to be covering, and that's the value chain. So the value chain is all about how we develop value within our organizations. So our products and services have to go through a certain channel in order to become worthwhile for your clients. So that's pretty much what we look at. That is known as the value chain. Okay, so let's take a look at this diagram. What you'll see is that raw materials or things that we use in order to develop a product or service comes in through our business through inbound logistics. That means anything that comes into our business has to go through a certain route in order to become valuable. So it can come in through trucks, it can come in through people, it can come in through ideas. That's how the product and service starts, with inbound logistics. Once it's inside of our organization, we then turn it into something that is useful. And we use operations as the word to show that we are making something out of the raw materials, raw ideas that we have been given access to. So that is operations or production. This is where we mold what we have into something that a client wants or needs. Then outbound logistics. We need to take the product or service to where it is needed. We can't expect them to come into our factories to come and take hold of our goods and services. Sometimes it needs to be marketed, sometimes it needs to be packaged in the right way, it needs to be taken to the marketplace so that people can buy what we want them to buy. So that is outbound logistics. Then we have sales and marketing. Now, for people to buy what we are going to make, we need to create a need. And so often our sales and marketing team is there to be able to develop a need in the customer base, or at least to make people aware of what we do and why it will benefit them. So a sales and marketing team is a vital cog in adding value. Then we have service. So if you develop something, you need to also give after sales service, and you need to make sure that people are know how to use the product and feel comfortable with using the product. And if anything happens to the product, that is able to be repaired or replaced. And so customer service is that section of the value chain. But then we never sell it at what it costs us. We always are going to add margin. That's our profits, because we take that profit and when we reinvest it in our business so that we can make more goods and services, or maybe we need to make someone rich. So that is the margin that we have. Now, throughout all the value propositions, you'll see that there are people that get involved. And so this becomes your support functions. So these are your core functions at the top here, but your support functions are there at any stage along the journey. So you will have procurement that will buy goods and services for you, or for machinery or capital or infrastructure at any point along here. So if we need trucks, or if we need machines, or if we need resources and brochures, they will help us to procure such things. Human resources. Well, there are humans involved in every single stage of the value chain. So human resources gets involved to support the resources that are people or workers or the workforce. And so that's where HR steps in, and they are your support function. Then you've got systems and technology development. So what you'll often find is that there is a tracking system, some kind of technological tracking system that shows us where the goods and services are on this line. And so you will have systems and technology along this. So they are supports because they are involved in every process. Then we have planning and finance, because we want to make sure that it takes a certain amount of time for our products to get to market. They need to plan that it is going to get there at the right time. And then our finance department make sure that there is invoices, that there are credit notes, that we pay the bills that we have to. And so finance, again, is involved in every stage of the development of our goods and services. So you'll see that those are core activities and those are support activities. And both of them are incredibly important in being able to give the right product to the right person at the right price. Okay, so that's your value chain. But why do we have a value chain? So there are three main purposes to a value chain. The first one is that it allows us to see how the business activities are interrelated and how they knock on each other, okay, and how they impact each other and how they relate to each other. So often we have to take a look at our value chains to make sure that they are working together, that they're not pulling against each other, that there is a flow through, that it is quick, that it is efficient, and that there isn't anything that is bottlenecking. So definitely our value chain has to be researched and looked at very often. Then we need to make sure that it's utilizing its resources to its optimum level. So we don't want to overpay for what we are using at certain stages in the value chain. So we need to constantly analyze the costs. We need to make sure that it's using its resources to capacity, and we need to make sure that there's no waste. All right. So let me move myself out. Also, it helps us to work out where our costs are incurred and the value that is created. So is that section of the value chain bringing in the money that we had hoped it would? So if it's not creating value, then we need to change it, adapt it, or otherwise we have to maybe outsource it. So we take a look at the value chain through that way. All right. So what is next? Okay, so this is pretty much encapsulating what we've just spoken about in terms of the diagram. We have core or primary activities in our value chain: inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, sales and marketing, and service activities. And then we have support functions, which is things like procurement, technology development, human resource management, and planning and finance. So all of these have to work together in order for our company to be as slick and as lean as possible. I'm sure you guys have heard about lean and maybe even Six Sigma that helps us to be able to make sure that that value chain works optimally. All right. Now, this is a good way of being able to look at your supply chain. So your suppliers also have a value chain. And so if there's anything that is wrong with your suppliers, it's going to have a knock-on effect on your own operations. So we need to constantly be checking their value chain. Then that moves into our operation and affects us, and then into our distributors. Okay, we need to check their value chain, make sure that that's all working, and then to the customers. Because if we are charging the right price and our distributors are charging us more, that's going to put impact on our customers, then we need to start changing things. So we need to make sure that our value system and our supply chain are all working together in order to get the goods and services to our customers in the way that we want them to get the goods and services. All right, so the next task that you are going to be involved in, and let me move my face out of the way. Okay, so you're going to read through the value chain Inform You. So remember that workbook, okay, all your reference material is blue. So firstly, they tell us a little bit about this section. I'm going to take you guys to your Inform You. Okay, there we go. So there we see it's the first blue pages called the value chain. So we're going to fill in the value chain, read through the value chain, make sure that you understand it. It really talks about what we've just spoken about. So there shouldn't be anything that is too much of a surprise. Okay, and so once you've done that, then I want you to complete the team and the value chain, which is an exercise. All right, so let's go to that. The team and the value chain. Okay, now here is a blank model of the value chain. Now I'm very sure that when goods and services come into your business, it's not known as inbound logistics. It might be warehousing, it might be stock control, it might be it might have a whole bunch of names: R&D, design. So what is your inbound logistics? And what are the departments that are involved in this inbound logistics process? Okay, so let me cross that out and tell me what are the departments that are involved in inbound logistics. Then tell me who is involved in operations. So is it production? Is it manufacturing? So what are the names of the departments that are involved in operations? Then tell me who is involved in outbound logistics. Which departments are involved in outbound logistics? Sales and marketing. Okay, so you might have sales people, you might have marketing people, you might have website people, but who is involved and what departments are involved in sales and marketing. Then your service department. So tell me who is involved in the service that is given to customers. So if you're selling machinery, well, then there's going to be people that help to install. They are part of your service. If there are people that enact your guarantees, they are part of your service. Maybe you have a customer support team. So that is your service. So tell me who is involved in your service. All right, and then procurement, human resource systems, technology, and planning and finance. Now, you might have a lot more departments that are involved in supporting the whole value chain. So who are those? Add to that. So I want you to make this value chain very personalized to your own business, and so that I can take a look at how your business functions, and so that you can be aware of where to analyze your value chain. Okay, so you're going to be redoing that whole diagram so it looks and reflects your business. Then you look at your own team. So your own team is somewhere on this value chain, somewhere here. So tell me, what are the strategy critical activities of your department or team? So tell me what things you do that feed into that value chain. So do you turn raw materials into a finished good? Or are you part of the sales team that sells the ideas or the concepts or a physical product or a service? So what is your function? Then how does your department, unit, or team add value to the organization's activities? It speaks very closely to your strategy critical activities, okay, either directly or indirectly. So are you part of the core functions or are you part of the support functions? And what do you add in terms of your position or your unit's position? Okay. Then who are your internal customers? Okay, your internal and your external customers, and what service or input do you provide to them? So if you are, let's say, in warehousing, so goods come into the warehouse, okay, your internal customer is manufacturing because you got to get it to manufacturing. Let's say you have got 3 lines. So you would tell me what are the 3 lines that require your inputs or your services. So they become your internal customer. You might also have external customers. Okay, so let's say Baines and Company buys goods from you. So list your external customers as well. Then tell me what you give to them. So if it's a line, we give them component X, we give them component Y, we give them after sales service. Tell me what you give to your internal or your external customers, and then you also decide how can we improve on the service that we are giving them currently. Okay, so you would just list that next to the customer that you are talking about. Okay, so this is quite a nice activity. Then you look at internal suppliers. So who actually give you things? Okay, so let's say you are in production. Your internal supplier would be the stockroom, or it would be your paper store, or whoever brings those things in to your process. Okay, so input, service received. Well, this is what they give me. Now, something also in here, internal customer. Let's say you are a supervisor and you do checklists. Checklist would be an input or service that you provide to HR or to quality control, so that they become your customer. So anything to do with paperwork can also be customers. Okay. So who are your internal suppliers? Who do you rely on in order to get your job done? What do you get from them? And how could their inputs or services be improved? Okay, so that's what you're going to do. And then you're going to put a little action plan together. So how do we become better at giving service to our internal customers or our external customers? And how can our internal suppliers or even external suppliers become better? So create some action plans. I'd say look at about 4 action steps that you can do in order to help that value chain. All right. So you look at your customers who you give things to, look at your suppliers who give things to you, tell me how they could do things better, and also then tell me how that contributes to adding value. And that's the end of that little section. So read through the value chain concept, and then I want you to do your team and the value chain. So that's going to take you at least 40 minutes. So good luck with that. If you have any questions, you just send it through on WhatsApp. I'll try and help you get unstuck or give you examples of something so that it can get your brain functioning, and hopefully you can work yourself through that. Okay.